And it is now your show, sir. Take it away. Thanks.
Okay, you're gonna bounce in every so often, or no? I guess. All right. Well, we'll see
Well,
what
of course I'm
happens.
going to bounce in every now and then. I don't trust you completely.
Oh, I see. Unlike my regular classes. All right. All right. Today's class we're dealing with, or this presentation we deal with, is emblem removal and installation. Let me just move this screen the way I have it set up here for myself to see who's here and who's not here. So, gotta make a couple of adjustments here. Okay. Um, Kicking it off. So the emblem removal and reinstallation for Collision Hub. Well, let's first start with the DEG, and the DEG has some interesting things that they've gone over and stuff like that. So all three internet providers confirmed on these operations as far as making a template and stuff like that. And there is a reference I'm going to show you guys in a minute that's on there. The physical time of making a template, measuring the area and putting it there is not included in CCC. They're still waiting for complete, confirmation response from Mitchell or Autotech. So they're pretty much on the fence on it. They haven't said the template measuring and marking, that is not included or is included. So they haven't come up with something, but CCC says it's not. And right from the DEG, you can get this. This was in an article from Repairer Driven News, and it was also on the DEG website. You can get this, and basically it tells you CCC, Mitchell, and Autotex, what's included, what's not included on their times, and they have the removal, the installation, or align or position it, clean and prep. Basically are on here are not included items. CCC is not included for removal of it, which seems strange on that. It should be included. Now, removal of the adhesive residue, clean and reapply the adhesive or reuse of original part, repair, refinish damaged area, the removed part, hardware material costs, clips, adhesives, adhesion promoters, slip solutions, drill time if required. Also, keep in mind that masking tape is not included because a lot of these, we'll see now that some of these systems require you to have masking tape to measure out the area. So you need 2 pieces of 3/4 tape, a piece of 1/4-inch tape to how far in it is, and then maybe a piece of 2-inch tape, how far up it is from a body molding or a body line, feature line, something like that. Decal overlay, blackout tape, or even stone guard. The removal is not included, except with Autotex, although it does say attaching original panel R&R procedure, adhesive tim tape, duct 1/2 of the time of the R&I time for install only. Installation and align and position it. That's included with both CCC and Mitchell, not Autotex. And then nothing else is included as far as adhesive cleanup, clean and prep, or heat the panel for installation. Because remember, a lot of these things require the panel to be at least a minimum of 75 or 80 degrees before you can install it. So you might have to heat both sides of the panel. This is especially an issue during the winter or on any type of cold day or something like that. Sometimes it has to be hot so that the adhesive will become, more stickier and will stick to the panel better. So here's CCC's page. What is this? G32 adhesive type moldings, nameplates, clean heat surface, component align position, installation of component only. Does not include adhesive backing removal, cleanup, and replace damage or damage to the panel, and of course any hardware or door hardware, it says in this case. Keep in mind also that CC doesn't include any templates or measuring the templates out or aligning them properly to be able to put that emblem molding or something on there, because sometimes you wind up with an emblem that's this big on a door panel this big, and it's on a very flat surface, so there's no way to tell where it's going to go. Sometimes you have to make a template off the original panel or before you take the panel apart. Here is the DEG. What is this? Tracking number. So this would be DEG 563. And this basically was an inquiry of the procedural pages on a lift gate. It says, and this happened to be for a 2018 BMW X5. It said, issue summary. When replacing a nameplate or emblem, BMW repair instructions call for making masking tape template to transfer to the original position of the emblem to the replacement panel. It is labor and material that do not include that is the labor and material to do this included with the replacement of the emblem or nameplate. BMW does not sell templates like other manufacturers. Suggestion, please specify if making an actual template is included or not included in the nameplate process. So this got closed pretty quickly within a day. Motors stated, after review of concern, creating templates is not included in the estimate work time. So there's the document number for you guys and stuff like that. So let's look at a 2019 Honda Accord emblem sticker removal and installation that they have on here. So as you can see here, for the Honda H emblem, adhesive tape thickness 0.8 millimeter. They have the push nuts that are in there. The rear Accord emblem, they're telling you the actual measurements. So you have 33.7 millimeters in from the edge. Up from the bottom of the edge, it's 11.6 millimeters. And then they got this other measurement over here further over. The edge of the trunk is 23.5 millimeters. So because the trunk's cut on an angle somewhat, they're going to have you two different measurements. So the shorter side, you're going to have a smaller measurement, and as the angle goes down or on an incline, they're going to give you a wider measurement. Now you have the 2.0 emblem here, and they're showing you the edge of the trunk and the side edge and the bottom edge. The bottom edge, it's up 32.5 millimeters. It's in 36.9 millimeters, and you also have a check off the body line that it's 43.9 millimeters. Now they have alignment marks on some of these appliques, such as this VTEC does have some alignment markers on it, but it also gives you a measurement off the alignment marker to tell you where to put it. The rear emblem spoiler, the rear sport emblem, the rear touring emblem, the rear SE emblem, the 2.0, and of course, the 2.0 sport when they're put together on the bottom edge of the trunk. Now, keep in mind, guys, that you should be taking pictures of this like you should take pictures of the car all the time prior to even disassembling the car or getting rid of a part so that you know exactly where everything's supposed to go. Googling it's usually not a good idea, and you're not going to get any measurements off it at all. So sometimes you have to do this pre-measuring of where the emblems are before you take the panels off. And discard them and keep that in mind. Also, sometimes they do give you the measurements, and that makes it a little bit easier, but you still take a picture of where they go so you know you have the right emblems for it. Now, for those of you who go onto the Service Information System, SIS, you can go into Honda's website and you go into the service information. I just picked an MDX on this one. I was looking for something else, and I knew about this video. And you have it install those adhesive-backed accessories trouble-free. So basically, Honda's showing you how to put on a body side panel molding on a MDX that is obviously something custom that's from the factory, because the truck doesn't come with body side moldings on it. But we're going to take a look at this, and I broke the video out and just 2 or 3 slides here to show you. So once again, read the OEM procedures. Components must be minimum of 60 degrees Fahrenheit, free of all grease and dirt. Soap and water has to be clean. You always got to use a dry, lint-free cloth. An alcohol pad's going to be required to wipe the area down. Then you're going to have to wipe it again. Now, only when you wipe with the alcohol pad, and this goes with anything else, you have to wipe in one direction. You can't go back and forth. You have to wipe just straight across the panel and keep going. Let it air dry out. The templates, if they're supplied, that's great. If they're not, you're going to have to make one. Sometimes you have to cut them. Sometimes they're made for 3 or 4 different vehicles, and you have to set it or cut it for the size that you need it for. You're going to have to measure and mark the location of the template so you can line it up for where the molding goes, especially when you don't have a body line to go off of. It's just basically a couple of tabs at the end of the door, at the one side of the door, and a couple of tabs at the other side of the door. So you got to measure it for the right location for it. And then you're going to have to apply pressure along the whole panel or just with a roller, and we'll get to that in a minute. The video shows you on the two verticals in the front and the back, you're going to remove those little small tape protectants. And then what you're going to do is you're going to peel the tape back off one edge a little bit, and you're going to tape it to the back side, to the front side of the molding. So now what you'll do is you'll catch one side of it and you'll put some pressure on it. And as you go along, you'll keep that line up to the proper area on the template. And as you pull off the orange, in this case, the orange protector, you'll pull that along and give it a little bit of light pressure. Now, Honda requires you to use this roller with their application of any of their moldings or emblems or anything like that, and it gives you a nice pressure feed across the whole entire panel. So if you guys have Hondas and do this, I mean, you can use it for other cars too. It comes in handy. It's a TNMHL E54D roller that you guys can purchase. If you're a Honda certified shop, you should already have this in your toolkit. Other companies have similar tools like this. GM. Well, GM, here's a good example here of something that you should measure before you go ahead and do any type of repair, because in this case, the C-pillar trim nameplate, this LT that sits on the quarter panel, really isn't lined up to almost anything. You don't know where this goes. You don't know exactly where it goes because it doesn't give you a lot of information. So you might want to go ahead and pre-measure it or before you cut the panel off or anything like that. And you want to make sure that you take a couple of photos of it and make sure you know what's going on with it. Now, their procedure requires for 70 degrees prior to installation, and it should remain at this temperature afterwards. So you want to make sure that you just don't heat the panel up and then not do anything to it afterwards. You got to make sure you keep it hot. This can be a heat gun, some sort of heat lamp. Keep clean air residue with a 50-50 mixture of isopropyl alcohol and clean drinking water. So you guys can mix that up, and that'll help take off this glue quickly. When removing protective liners from the adhesive tape, be careful. Do not touch the tape with the hands. Do not allow tape to come in contact with dirt or other fallen objects. And use the palm of the hand, wet out the center pillar, trim level panel to ensure full adhesion is made. Just make sure you line it up properly, because it does sit in the middle of nowhere. Here's an example of a Subaru Forester, and you have here where I lined up some tape to show you some measurements with tape that you can take some measurements off of this. And over here, they show you the measurements that they're utilizing on this particular one, where they're showing you how to line this up with a decal that comes with it. I found a couple of times these things aren't cut exactly perfectly. So make sure that you do measure out where this Subaru, the all-wheel drive Forester, and the PZEV go. Now, keep in mind that nothing looks worse on a car if the emblems are in the wrong spot, they're not lined up properly, if they crooked, that's bad too, or if they're on the wrong side of the car, that looks horrible. And we know the car's been, worked on, or somebody's done something to it. Here's BMW. Now, BMW, a little bit different with their TIS, the way they give it out. They're going to, this is an F30, 335i, and they're going to go over this particular vehicle. And they give you consumables. You need a cutting cord, basically like a fishing line to cut it off, masking tape 19 millimeters or 30 millimeters wide, yellow plastic adhesive tape, eraser disc, and cleaning agent R2. So they want you to transform the portion designation 1 from the old trunk lid by making adhesive tape template. For paintwork, keep the adhesive tape template up to installation. Sticking the masking tape nearby the edges. Make sure you know exactly the distance of the edges and stuff like that. Measure it out. And then you can detach this tape and bring it over. What I've also found out that works pretty well on BMWs is the 3M Spark paper. Works nicely. on making a template for things and stuff. So that comes in handy. Uh, and then you can align it to where you need it and stuff like that and just double check it. But that does come in handy. And obviously using the tail light here and the edge of the trunk and the body line to line up everything nice and easily. And you can see here, they're just showing you more versions of it. This is how the emblem comes with the little plastic tape. So it's already lined up for you. You don't have to put each individual letter on, which makes it a hell of a lot easier than doing anything else on this. So this does come in handy. Obviously, the BMW circle in the middle, that's already preset to where it has to go. So that does come in handy for you guys. So people have talked about this. Years ago, we did one of these, myself and James Moy. We made up a little challenge to people. And, well, this is prior to ADAS systems being on cars so prevalently and a lot of other things that were going on. So here's a 2019 Toyota Camry, one emblem, two nameplates on this particular vehicle. So let's look at the nameplate removal. On here, when removing nameplates, a luggage compartment emblem, heat the luggage compartment panel and nameplate using a heat light. They want it to 100 to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. Nameplate on the door emblem or something, 68 to 86 degrees. Be careful because it's going to get hot. 104 degrees is going to be very, very, kind of hot to your hand. 104 is really going to be hot to your hand, and you want to watch what you're doing with this. Obviously, they tell you don't touch the heat light. Heated parts might result in burns, and touching heated parts for a long time will result in burns. Really, thanks, guys, for telling us that. So you have to put tape around the outside edges of any of the emblems when you go ahead and do this. This will prevent any scratching or deep scratches to the area. You're probably going to make some rub marks on especially dark colors by doing this, but this is how you're going to remove the emblem. And you're going to, after you heat it up, and you're going to disengage the two pins that come with the door emblem. For the luggage compartment area, you have to mask off each one of these letters here so that you don't scratch it. And over here on this one, they're telling you to use a piano wire to go back and forth, a fishing line. Remember, you got to wrap it around something because you can't wrap it around your fingers. You'll end up cutting them. So, go back and forth with this. Keep in mind, water works as a great lubricant on urethane type tapes. So the installation of it, once again, they want you to heat the panel up again, and using a heat lamp or lights, heating source, remove any removable double-sided tape. So this is clean the tape off, wipe off the adhesive tape with a cleaner, heat the panel up to it, and you have some pins that'll be installed for the Camrys. These have these little areas here, so there's really no lining this up. There's already pins pressed into that area so that you can line these up pretty easily. The door compartment, the luggage compartment emblem. So once again, this has two alignment pins on it also, so that makes life a lot easier when you're trying to line these up. And then, of course, the nameplate. Once again, you'll heat this up, and it does give you measurements here. So A is 48.7 millimeters up. B is in 42.9 millimeters, and C is up 35.1 millimeters. So maybe a couple of pieces of tape would help you out on this, or actually, taking a picture before you do this, so you got a really good idea where it goes. This here, you might get in the right spot by just guessing at it, but it's going to be crooked unless you line it up properly. Now, the LE, XLE, and XEX, SE are all slightly differently aligned than the SE, as you can see here. So they're primarily in the same spot, but the numbers are off a little bit as far as the measurements go and stuff. So this gives you an idea of what you would have to do with the repair to it. Now, my argument back when we first came out with this whole idea of doing this estimate was, well, somebody stole the estimates off the back of the car. The customer wanted to change them for some reason. I mean, there has to be a reason why someone's just going to come in and we were trying to isolate just the procedure itself. So we went ahead and we decided to do this. And we made the challenge out there, and I believe it was like $560 on a black car. That was the main keyword. There was a black car um, that was going to sustain a little bit of scratching to the paint that would have to be buffed out afterwards. And that's basically what we try to go with when we had that original program for it. So a couple of things have changed in time. So let's look at this. We do this sometimes to be funny and stuff. And obviously we've all heard, well, we don't pay for that. And, we don't care. And, you guys will just argue, well, the OEM says it must be done. But very few of you will go ahead and say, well, let me get the customer involved. That's what you need to do. Get the customer involved. It's not your fight. It's not your argument. The OEM says you have to do it. You as a shop has to do it. Actually, there's some associations out there and some people in this industry that are actually trying to fight to make state laws that you have to do it according to what the OEM says. So basically, you're forcing yourself. You have to do it the way the OEM says. And if the insurance company doesn't pay you and you don't get the customer involved, well, guess what? You're still liable for it because you had to do it. There's a law out there, but you're supposed to do that anyway. Follow what the OEM says as far as their repair goes and stuff. So we can have a little fun here. Well, I brought the vehicle owner in, and of course, the vehicle owner was told by the insurance adjuster, well, we don't pay for that. So the adjuster in this case decided to have a conversation with the adjuster and asked him again, well, do you pay for it now? And of course, the adjuster was like, well, please stop talking to me so loudly. And, so the customer decided to ask the adjuster again, so who's your daddy now? So let's take a look at the damage report. Most people write a damage report in this particular fashion. Replace the emblem, replace the name Camry, replace the XLE. Oh, you know what? Let me add a little bit in there for remove the adhesive residue. And, well, you know what? Maybe I'll clean and detail the car for delivery. So you have, if I take $11 off of this, you got about $120 in just emblems alone, okay? And we got a whopping 1.7 hours in labor. So let's take off, so we got 1, 2, so we got 0.4 just to put the emblems on, all right? So we got a $244 estimate here at $50 an hour labor rate. So what would happen if we actually took a really good look and see what's missing? I'll give you guys a minute here to take a look and think about it to yourself. What could possibly be missing? What am I missing out on? What am I not seeing, charging for? What am I doing for free? And I want you to seriously think about this and try and put a number on what I'm going to come up with. Okay. I'll give you a hint. The old number used to be it was 528 or 538, I think, for some reason. And that's what it used to be. So let's see what we come up with now. And you tell me, you guys can argue either way. This is a complete fantasy because no one's ever going to just steal the emblems and leave it alone. And remember, the car's a black car. So no one's ever going to steal the emblems and then someone's going to come in and tell you, I got to put these emblems on the car. It's a rarity this is ever going to happen, but I had to isolate it so that we can judge on something as stupid as or as easy as just replacing 3 emblems on a car. So what's missing? Well, liability. Liability is a big issue. And we have to keep in mind that our liability is exposed all the time. And we hear people say all the time in the news outlets, in the classes about scanning, about pre-repair scanning, post-repair scanning the car. I've been talking about measuring the car for years, and I'm going to show you a little proof of something afterwards to make you really think about something. But keep in mind that it's very important that we do diagnosis. Another thing also is that our pictures, our photos, our documentation is abysmal for most collision repair shops. And many times people, the estimators or damage assessors are not thinking everything out, clearly. And I'll constantly get flack on Facebook, and even in classes I'll teach like this, and I'll probably get some flack at the end of this. People complaining about, well, that's impossible. No one's ever going to do this. No one's ever going to do that. And it's like, well, I have plenty of estimates to prove stuff like this gets done every single day. And there's a bunch of people on here now I can see by looking that also have been down that route themselves. So let's take a look. So the first thing you do, the car's coming in, and remember, just the emblems were stolen, but this is what has to be done on every single car that you get into your shop. You're going to have to do a pre-repair scan, and you're going to have to do a post-repair scan. All right. Now, sometimes you might do a pre-repair scan, a post-repair pre-dealer calibration scan, and you might even have some situations where you'll do a post-dealer scan or post-calibration scan. So you'll have actually 3 scans on the vehicle to know what's going on. And keep in mind that even a key scratch, and I've brought this up before, a key scratch vehicle, someone scratched down the side of a car. Some kids walking to school, young kid, grade school, thought it was funny to scratch the side of a car, didn't realize what actually was doing. And now you got to paint the front fender to the quarter panel. On that particular car, though, you got to scan it. Why do I have to scan? Because you don't know what codes are there that are definitely not related to this incident, but what codes are there, and then what codes you set while you do the repair to the vehicle, because you're going to set some codes by disassembling things. You're going to have to look up the Toyota TIS information. Unless you memorized all those numbers one time before by heart of exactly where those emblems go and where the pins are on there and stuff like that, you're going to have to look up the repair information. You're going to have to road test the vehicle for delivery. That's part of your liability clauses and stuff on the garageman's insurance policy. You have to make sure that that car is safe to drive and capable of driving. It doesn't matter that you just put emblems on it. You gave that car back to somebody, tell them it's okay to drive. If the taillights aren't working, if the brakes are badly worn, Kristen brought it up a few times. It's like 8 years ago. A guy was doing a state inspection, and told the customer the car was good, but he didn't go ahead and check the brakes. And she wound up in a car accident, I don't know, maybe 3-4 miles down the road, and the brakes were the main failing part of that. And he had just passed the car. Pre-measure the vehicle body and suspension. Larry, are you kidding me? And I'm going to get to this later about explaining why, and I'm going to show you some proof of why you need to pre-measure a car. But you don't know if this car's been involved in another collision. You can assume if it comes from the dealership, a brand new car, brand new stickers on it, car's got 1 mile on it, 5 miles on it, whatever the case is. You can pretty much assume, if you want to, that the car's never been involved in a collision. But anything else, you can't tell if the car's been involved in a collision or not. How many of you out there have actually worked on a car, had the car in your shop, and the car is basically done, goes for a wheel alignment, and you fix the back of the car, and the front of the car is all out of whack, and you can see it's really been incorrectly repaired. And you're like, what the hell's going on here? We didn't work on this. Well, you didn't. Somebody else did, but now you kind of like own that bad repair because you didn't do your due diligence and check out the whole car. Well, they didn't want to pay me. That's not your problem. I mean, they don't want to pay you. Then you got to talk to your customer about, I have to diagnose this car. I have to know what's going on. I can't prove or not if the vehicle's been involved in a collision or how badly it's damaged or what's misaligned on there. So the rear lamps. I have master rear lamps on the left and right side. I'm R&I on the license plate. And you're going to see why in a minute for all this stuff, for those couple of lines there. We have replaced the emblem, the Camry, and the XLE. Removed the adhesive residue, the templates for those, for the nameplates. The battery disconnect. Every procedure in the manual tells you to disconnect the battery prior to working on the vehicle, doing anything to the vehicle. So you're going to need to disconnect the battery. If I disconnect the battery, I'm going to have to reset the presets for the customer and also reset the radio code and anything like that, or the radio presets and stuff like that. You don't have to do it. You don't. But keep in mind, this is also a hybrid. Did you notice that? It's a hybrid vehicle. Shouldn't be working on a hybrid vehicle or any vehicle for that matter. You're in a regular 12-volt battery vehicle without this disconnecting the battery. You're supposed to. It says it in the repair manual basically 3-4 times before every friggin' procedure that you have to disconnect the battery. Airbag system diagnosis. Well, you're going to disable the bag. Excuse me, you're going to disconnect the battery. You should really be pulling the fuse in most cases to make sure that the airbag can't deploy in any way, shape, or form. You'll do a system diagnosis after you're done with this. Because the car's in your shop, you have to make sure the vehicle safety system's working properly, that there are no codes, diagnostic trouble codes that won't set a malfunction indicator lamp, or the airbag light won't come on, which does happen. Uh, Jake Rodworth from Aztec has said it numerous times. So is Chuck Olson from AirPro, has talked about it numerous times about these issues that you don't know about. Now, once again, we don't know if the vehicles are involved in a collision or not. Prior to this, well, you got to test the seatbelts and the seatbelt locking mechanism. Once again, I'm just going by the book, guys. You can pick and choose what you do and don't want to do. So I'm going to pre-repair wash the car and degrease it. I have to put a floor mat in the car. I'm going to have to cover the car for buffing, because I'm going to have to go ahead and buff the panels that are on this car, because the panels have what? Well, I told you the car was black. So we're going to have to go ahead and polish. I put down 4 glaze and polish the panels, because you're going to leave small scratch marks by the person stealing the emblems, by you wiping the area down or cleaning the area, especially with a cloth, even if it's lint-free. Remember, it's a black car. It's going to leave a ton of marks. You're going to have to buff the adjacent panels to it, such as the top or the back end of the quarter panels and stuff like that. And then you're going to have to glaze out, hand glaze the panels to make sure the car looks good. And then you're going to have to clean the car for delivery. So as we look at this and we add all this up, so we started off with this vehicle, and we have our cumulative supplement here, where we started off with $224 originally, and now we're up at $1,000, $1,004, which is $1,298. So our supplement for $1,054 is on one side, and then the full bill is on the opposite side. So it's your choice on what you want to do and what you don't want to do, guys, or how much you want to charge for it. This is 3 emblems that got stolen off a car, going through the repair manual, looking at all the recommendations from the manufacturer, the requirements for doing certain things to the vehicle, and the safety precautions you have to follow. Here's an estimate here for $1,300 bucks. At $50 an hour labor rate, and you're probably beating yourselves in the head saying, "Are you out of your mind, Larry? Seriously?" We're swapping out emblems, and you could probably picture some of the things that would be said to me on Collision Repair Technicians United, on Facebook, that I'm crazy, I'm out of my mind, I'm stupid, I don't know what I'm talking about. It's just swapping the emblems. You're making a project. Well, here's measurements from a vehicle that went into a shop for a bumper cover scrape. Bumper cover was scraped. The rear bumper was scraped. Guy took off the rear bumper cover to fix the bumper cover and paint it. Scraped in the center of it. It's a white car, regular white, not pearl white or anything like that. And took the bumper off. And he noticed that there was some body shop sludge behind the bumper cover on the rear body panel, not on the inside of the rear bumper cover. He noticed some compound sprayed around in the back there. So he had some sludge, you got some compound. And then he noticed tape lines in the back. And there was a difference in the look, the textured look of the seam sealer on the rear body panel to the quarter panel between the left side and the right side. So he's like, I think this car's been hit before. So he did some checks and some, while they're fixing the car, and he's looking at it. So he calls me up and he says, yeah, I got film thickness measurements of 125 mils, 70 mils, 80 mils on one quarter panel. And I got the other quarter panel is, 12 mils. And I was like, okay, what's the rest of the car measurements? Well, that's like, 4.6, 5.2. I said, okay, well, it looks like the 2 quarters were painted and one had body work done to it. The other one was just blended. And so he says to me, he says, you know, what else should I do for this? I mean, I'm just fixing a scratch in the bumper cover. I said, well, you know, for shits and giggles, why don't we measure the car? Let's see what happened. So he measures the car, and the ass of the car is up, obviously, and the front is kind of swung over also. Well, we find out through the owner the car's been involved in 2 other accidents, one in one state, one in the same state, but a few months back. And they were complaining of changing tires a lot. And the vehicle had new tires on it, but they've changed tires twice already because they were going bald very quickly. And this is a fairly new car. So this wound up turning out from a bumper cover repair that had they had not done their due diligence, they could have been jammed up for this car that they did the last repair to this vehicle. Somebody could be badly injured in this vehicle if it was involved in a subsequent collision event. So this is the reason why you need to pre-measure a car, pre-repair measure a car. You have to diagnose, you got to know what's going on. It's no different than someone looking at your swollen arm and going, well, could be broken. You know, you kind of squeeze it, it hurts. Anyone ever get a bone bruise? It kind of hurts really bad, but you didn't break it. The only way to tell if you broke it is, let's take an x-ray. Well, this is kind of like your x-ray here that you're doing. Now, that proves my point on that portion of it, but hang on. One more thing. We have issues where sometimes emblems are discontinued. Emblems are custom or specially made for a particular model of vehicle, and you just can't get these things again. They were one-offs. It's an older restoration, maybe. Well, 3M has these press-in-place type stickers. Now, you know me, I'm a proponent of the factory sells them, you go buy them. I'm not reusing emblems or anything like that. This is for when they're not available. That's my pet peeve, my personal opinion on this. So, if they're discontinued, you can go ahead and use these. And basically, you're going to have to spend a lot of time cleaning the backsides of these things, get them really, really clean and stuff. And then you're going to wipe them with isopropyl alcohol. Let them air dry after wiping them with a clean cloth. And then basically you're going to press this this clear adhesive on the backside of it. So you're going to squeeze it down really good. Let it sit for a few seconds. Then you're going to kind of pull it off. And if you pull it off the right way and it does the right way, it's going to actually, you know, leave that little hole in the 6, that little indentation at the top portion of the 6 and cut around the outside of it. Same thing like when you go across the word Mazda, it'll cut out all those areas for you, so you really don't have to use an X-Acto knife, which we know can take a very long time to go through and become an issue when you do them. So these come in handy for discontinued emblems and nameplates, or a specialized nameplate is something that you want to utilize, or even for older restorations and stuff on cars where you have these custom nameplates, or I don't know, somebody wanted to anodize their nameplates for some reason, or you had to remove them for whatever reason and stuff like that on these older cars that are not made anymore. So that's just a little tidbit there for you guys to go over. This wasn't the longest of the programs, and we're open for questions and answers here. I'm going to bring Kristen probably back on here now. She'll probably bounce in here if anybody wants to ask any questions, go over anything, or scream and yell at me and tell me I'm completely crazy or out of my mind.
Well, in that case, hold on, let me move the mic closer. All right, things I've been wanting to say.
We got a slight delay.
You're gonna open that up, you know.
I'm gonna let people fire away. I don't care. I can defend it, and I really don't care either way. But it is what it is. I mean, look, if you use the book, you go over the manual. I mean, next week's class for the C20 group. Once again, I'm proving. You know, I don't care what it is, steel car, quarter panel, bedside panel, 1950 to 2020. You tell me the labor rate, I'll tell you how much it's going to cost. So at $50 an hour labor rate, depending on the price of the quarter panel.
Wait, I'm sorry. Is this like guess your weight at the
Yeah, I know. Yes.
Or how many marbles in the jar? Or
exactly. And I can tell you exactly how much it's going to be. And listen, it's going to come out somewhere between $12.5 and $14.5, depending on the price of the quarter panel, if you need adhesive or not. Every single time, every single steel car. And that's at $50 an hour labor rate, guys. So, you know, until somebody gets to that point, I don't want to hear anything about labor rate and stuff like that.
One of the main reasons, and I'll just kind of fill in, when we go and do audits or audits sound so, I guess from the insurance day when I used to send the audit team out, it was never a good thing. We're here from corporate and we're here to help, right?
No, we're not. We're not there for any good reason. And it's funny
Here to
because everyone
decide
thinks
who
we're
to
going to come
fire.
in and they want to be our friend and they want us to talk to them. It's like, listen, you didn't pay me and Kristen to come in here and be your buddy for the day. You came in for us to be here for a couple of days to evaluate your shop. And we're not going to tell you, hey, wow, great work on this, this, and this. You might hear it, but that's not the big thing. We're there to find the problems with your shop.
Right.
That's what it's there for. It's never good news,
Well, it's good news for me sometimes, but no. But one of the reasons that that when we go out and we do these meetings or we're doing an audit or a review on a shop, when we take them through this exercise, it is silly, right? When are you ever going to just change emblems on a car?
No, right.
But it's and we've been accused of it being an exercise in creativity. It's not meant to be that. It's meant to be an exercise in you thinking about the steps you're going to have to perform, the processes around those steps. So what's involved now in liability, whether it's the frame measurements or the scanning, so that you have a complete picture of the vehicle you're working on. Whether it's understanding that the OE procedures exist for even things around emblems, how you'll take them off, how you'll put them back on, etc. All the little things that we do. So if I go back and I do an audit, typically when a shop replaces an emblem, it's just whatever the R&R time of that emblem is.
Yeah. And I try to do that with that first estimate there for $279.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is when I teach estimators and stuff like that for the first few times and stuff, I try and make them right on paper. I don't want labor times or anything. I just want procedures. Just write down the operation you have to do. Stick within that family or that component area. Move on from there. But tell me what you have to do. Just keep writing it down. The computer database system will spit out the right numbers. You just have to write down what you have to do. I'm looking for consistency that way. And this is one of the things James and I first started when we started training shops for consistency was just make everyone write this stupid thing. Or just replace it like we did the door skin versus a door shell that we did in the C20 group that you now have online as a class. And we proved that a door shell is cheaper than a used door or a door skin. On two different systems on two different vehicles, including a GM, which is a very expensive door shell. So that's where you get that consistency, where you take out the blends, take out everything. Just give me this panel replacement on this. Let's just study a door skin. Let's just study the replacement of a fender. What do you have to do for that? Don't worry about everything else. Let's just stick to the fender right now.
Awesome. All right. Well, everyone's kind of shocked, Larry. I don't think there's any questions.
I'll probably get yelled at later and screamed at, and people.
No, it's I tell everybody. Even I used to do exercises like this with my insurance adjusters. So it's just one of those things where I want you to think about what you're estimating. No boundaries, no limits, no constraints. Think about what you want to do. Whether it's whether we do the Post-it notes, which I keep with me everywhere I go. Whether we do Post-it notes and do a process map out at, then apply the lines, then go back and look at what's included, not included. When we used to teach policy, we would teach you to read coverage in and then read it out. So you were, that's how you were trained. And that goes directly to estimating as well. And that's how you get to be a good estimator. So it's not about someone coming along and going, did you know you could charge 0.5 for this? Like I see in a lot of training, that doesn't help you. It's going through exercises like this and learning the hows and the why of what you're going to write, being able to develop a case for how you're going to defend it, and how you're going to explain what you wrote. That's what makes you a great estimator. It's not about putting somebody in the back lot with a total loss and going, learn to write big hits. Big hits are just a series of small sections of the car. So small groupings, that's all a big hit is. And until you can learn to master one grouping, then you can't master, 15 to 20 groups on an estimate. So
no, I see people all over the place when they write their estimates. They don't stick within the family. They don't follow a process. It's everything everywhere. My biggest pet peeve is miscellaneous items. So I'll have at the end of the bumper let's say the 2 doors are hit and the quarter panel's being fixed and they're doing the rear bumper. At the end of the rear bumper, I'm going to get color sand and buff. I'm going to get corrosion protection. I'm going to get disconnect the battery because it's not an electrical. And then it's locked and they create a supplement and they forgot some stuff. Now they're adding the trunk lid into it. So now after the bumper and after some miscellaneous items, which have no heading, now you got the bumper and some other stuff. And then they throw more miscellaneous stuff at the end of the tailgate area. And the estimate becomes a mess. And it's very difficult to read and hard to understand. And they miss a ton of stuff that way because they're not stuck to a family of let's do the door, let's do the rear door, let's do the quarter panel. What's associated with this? Their train of thought is off.
Yeah. Oh, crazy. All right. Well, that's going to do it and wrap it up. And then we're back here, Jason, 3:00 Central.
Yeah, Caroline, the importance of using the correct fasteners and proper repairs on today's vehicles. So we're going to talk about, I know we're going to talk about riveting and some other attachment methods. So it should be quite interesting, I think, especially with people, some of the misconceptions about rivets and, just that there's just a type of rivet when there's so many different variations out there. So it could be pretty interesting. Looking forward to that one.
Very
You
excited.
use Velcro. Velcro's easier.
I'm thinking about
Well,
it.
it is.
Velcro's so much either out of the little push-in plastic Christmas trees. So much easier when you got to change your
Okay.
panel.
All right. So everyone, I admit my faults. So just so that you know, when Jason sent me this topic for fasteners and collision, I went, we're talking about clips. And Jason went, no.
Listen, I've owned a few Infinities in my time, and I've changed my own oil in the underbelly pan. The clips break instantaneously when you go to take them out. They're horrible. There's a little push pin in the center of it, and you hear them break. And then you take them, and nothing else holds in there. Christmas trees don't fit. Like, you can't find an aftermarket, comparable plastic piece to hold it in there. So it drives you up a wall. So you got to push these things around. So it can really drive you crazy. And clips are very, very important. Some guys remember years and years ago, Ford had those really long pushing clips, like on the Lincoln Town cars and the Navigators and the Expeditions. And like, you go to pull a door panel, they break. Or Volkswagen's terrible with their door trim panels. They break very easily. So it can really drive you up a wall just on those. Forget about, like Jason said, with all the different rivets and fasteners. I mean, between the 2 certified shops I'm in all the time with the aluminum, there's got to be, no exaggeration, probably about 40 different rivets we have of different sizes, like 7 or 8 different SPRs, like 4 or 5 different structural rivets. Forget about window regulator rivets or little trim rivets. Just those alone will drive you up a wall. What's coated, what's not coated. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's nuts. So kind of all right. So we'll see everybody at 3:00.
Cool.
And then Larry, we'll see you again Thursday night on a separate non-webinar related event.
Yes, I will be doing another Facebook Live rant on a few different things that I've read so far this week. It's like every day I get new stuff to get me pissed off.
Well, hold up. So we got wait. We're
What?
going to have Blaze come on, and Blaze is going to talk to us from a shop's perspective about how he's actually he's
this is our collision hub.
So
it's our thing. Okay.
His downtime has been valuable, so I'm very excited to hear from a shop's perspective on the value he thinks he's found in the shutdown.
Okay, so we're doing a collision hub roundtable on Thursday night.
And then you and Jake from Aztec,
right,
are going to spar. Is that correct?
Oh, well, we're going to have Jake's actually going to do this. He's going to show up and, do it with me and stuff.
He's going to show up in his khakis.
In his khakis. All right, Jake from State Farm. So this is going to be Jake from Aztec, right? Not State Farm. He sounds hideous. So this will be also Thursday night.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're doing those Thursday nights. So the Larry rant will be on Friday night then.
Okay.
I'll do that.
Well, that's a Friday night activity, that is.
That's a Friday night activity. This time I think I'm actually going to get drunk for it.
Oh!
I think I'm going to drink this time, and I might sing Sinatra again. No. We might have some colorful language. The last 2, I didn't have any colorful language, but this one might be colorful language. Maybe I'll do it outside in the street, and we'll get some other maybe get some neighborhood people involved. That'll be great. Nighttime in Lakeview is very exciting.
I'm just gonna call Erica and put her on notice and send an Okay. All right. So, all right. Well, we will see everyone back at 3:00. Thanks.